Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is October 28th, 2024, and I am about to try something else a little bit different to measure some statistics. And also I'm about to try on another different pair of shoes. Stay tuned, because I don't know if this channel is going to be talking about guitars, shoes, wildlife, nature. Actually, I do know what it's going to be talking about. Almost as if a confirmation right there, right? You guys heard the doors lock right then? You know, this vehicle's doors lock at a certain speed, the speed that I already achieved. And for some reason, those actuations sometimes happen at different intervals or after a different distance. And I couldn't tell you why, except for, again, confirmation. There's some kind of confirmation in all of this that what I'm saying should be resonating with you and or just around me in general, in terms of showing that I'm on the quote unquote the right path. Some of us are on the left path, some of us are on the right path, some of us are on the middle ground, and some of us aren't even on a path. We're going off trail and winging it. And those are the journeys that I would love to discuss with my relatives, including the relatives with whom I've had difficulties discussing the process of spraying poisons on our ancestors' grave sites. For whatever reason, I have been met with ridicule when I talk about not buying poison. You know, if we don't want to poison the earth, we probably shouldn't buy poison. Even for insects, there are certain things, certain times, certain ways to manage what it is that we've been met with. And in a lot of cases, I see a decline in wildlife that's directly attributed to the use of poisons and outdated and cruel methods of killing the adversary. Just as an example, in Austin, Texas, recently, there was a location that was, I guess, coached because they were using glue traps for some of their pests. But the glue traps were placed in a way where the bats from the location were getting stuck on the glue traps. Now, many of us have seen different instances of pests being captured, of animals being hunted, and some of us are not compassionate. And in fact, some of us go out and hunt all the time trying to find the biggest trophy animal that we can, while recognizing that the animals in general have been on the decline. And some of us don't recognize that because it's difficult to see the process if we're not really out there on a regular basis. So for the wildlife, for the naturalists, for the people who work at wildlife facilities, and for the people who work in these remote areas, those people can see a lot of the things that are occurring. However, the same as you and I might have difficulty talking to our CEO and making any kind of noteworthy change is about the same as all of these components of our system are. So some of the things that are happening, you may never know about them until it's just too late. You might not really be aware of certain circumstances until it's too late. So that's why I'm trying something new today. I've got a heart rate monitor that pairs to this watch, and I wanted to do something called a lactate threshold test. And that I'm having a lot of difficulty saying it, but the lactate threshold test is something that will further enhance my ability, further add to my ability to more reasonably achieve a certain pace, to also achieve some desired results. And in this case, my desired results are, as I've been mentioning, I'd like to participate in the completion of a marathon for my own purposes. And in order to do that, it might be a lot easier to know exactly what my heart rate is doing and how I'm able to best perform around these facts. And speaking of around the facts, basically there was one line open, one lane that had 0 cars in it. It was on the far side, on a different side from the side that I needed to be on. You heard me accelerate, the lights turned green, I accelerated, and my turn light was green just now. So I was able to make that circumstance where traffic was at a standstill look like, well, everyone's at a standstill except for the other person, me. I'm looking around, making sure I'm not going through an intersection when people are going through it. I'm highly observant as far as what it is that I do when I drive. In fact, if many of you knew how far I drive sometimes and how I'm able to complete that effortlessly, you'd understand that that takes a high degree of concentration. Even though I'm concentrating on all these things, it doesn't mean that I'm oblivious to all of the one-time use plastic cup, plastic bottle, bottle cap, plastic baggie, plastic trash, remnants of a trash bag, cardboard. There are so many things just sitting on the street around that are also on these trails that I'm trying to, that I am enjoying. And at the same time, there's a huge cleanup effort that's required. And until plastic bottle of some kind of a entertainment-based drink, all of these different things, pallets, all political signs that are ripped in half, all of these different things are on the trails that I'm being met with, and I'm doing my best to ask for some sign to monetize this effort of the cleanup process, and or to actually build a team to complete this process. Someone on here suggested that I needed to start an organization of some sort where maybe I could get people to rally around these causes. Well, that's kind of what I'm doing here. And so I hope that you recognize this is just one faction of how it is that I'm trying to address all of these circumstances. And for whatever reason, it's not too successful. Hardly anyone wants to participate in the cleanup. Most of us just want to participate in just enjoying the circumstance. So do I. And I've got things to measure and times that I have to achieve. And so for that reason, I'm not necessarily going out of my way to stop every time that I see some garbage. However, I am capturing it along the way. I am capturing the wildlife along the way. And I am capturing the experience, covering the devices, covering the equipment as quickly as I can while multitasking at this particular effort, at this particular pace, hoping that there are other people who are keeping up and who are able to understand and communicate. Because in today's world, the most important thing is communication. It probably was in yesterday's world, and it definitely will be in the world of the future. So for those of you who are into communication, I applaud you. I hope that you are subscribing to this channel. I hope that you're having relevant conversation with me so that you can help me to communicate this effort all the more. Stay tuned. Let's see what we run into, or we run like today. I don't need anybody throwing shade on me because I'm having a great time throwing shade on my own self. Anyway, I thought I'd just say that for the people out there who want to throw some shade. Go ahead and throw some shade. It helps the algorithm.
Today I'll be testing out some Nike Vaporflies in some of my favorite colors. Here's a capture of some of the data from my run where I accomplished my fastest mile to date in those Vaporflies, and I was able to complete my lactate threshold test, and also my heart rate zones were updated using that new Garmin heart rate monitor that I paired to this Garmin device. Again, none of these devices are necessary or even sustainable. However, while they're being offered, I'm able to look at all this data and make sure that I'm operating within my physical means And it's really nice to have the data alongside my intuition as I feel what my physiology is capable of doing, and as I recognize that those thresholds are increasing. So it's nice to have this data. My VO2 max is still on the process of improving, and everything else, as you can see here, has been recorded for your viewing pleasure. As with my Shocks headphones, I disconnected the Garmin heart rate strap after I was done using it, and I made sure to disconnect the device from the strap to make sure that the battery lasts as long as it can.
So, in addition to detecting my lactate threshold, my heart rate at that number or at that level is 172 beats per minute. And in addition to that, I was also able to complete my fastest mile. I think it said 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Either way, what a day. And in the long run, I completed 2 runs today. One was my daily recommended training, and that was for an intervals session where I warmed up for 10 minutes and completed some 30-second intervals, and then some acceleration gliders. And after that, I started the threshold test, the lactate threshold test, and that basically takes you incrementally from one heart rate to the next heart rate in 4-minute increments. And that was kind of tough. And it was only able to be completed with that chest strap heart rate monitor. And I actually got 2 of these. One I got on eBay because I just wanted to complete this threshold test, and the monitor that was sent to me was defective. And so I got another one I found it in the Amazon with some Amazon bucks that I already had. So this one was free. And I was able to test out my chest strap monitor and determine my lactate threshold. And now that that's done, now that I know where that threshold is, I kind of knew where it was already, but now that I know officially where it is, I'm able to also in the future test against that same value and see if I've improved, or if I'm able to better target my workouts around not hitting the wall during a marathon effort. So we'll see what this data does. In the meantime, the shoes that I wore definitely helped. They were very similar in terms to the Brooks Hyperion Elite. These Nike Vaporflies are just as light, just as ventilated, and they're a little bit different structurally, but I really enjoyed them. And I don't have any kind of new issues on my feet. So I've got to say, I really do enjoy these shoes. Again, thank you so much to everyone who's continuing to support my efforts and help me to achieve these goals. If you'd like to help to contribute, please be sure to click on the description and feel free to do whatever you can, whether you just go ahead and read it and feel like entering some kind of comments or what have you. It doesn't really matter. The point is that if you're learning something on here, I hope that you're also making progress and that you're also having a great day. It was kind of cloudy outside, as you can see overhead here. That also helped with today's effort, because I'm sure if it was much hotter and if I had started later, that I would not have been able to achieve the exact same results. So just to continue the insight that I was providing recently into the run, walk, run method, that effort that I just completed for the lactate threshold test involved it should have been a 10-minute warm-up period followed by 4-minute increments. But I already had finished my warm-up because I already had completed a daily run suggestion. So I was already warmed up. So I skipped the warm-up, and then I started with the 4-minute increments where I was running at a specified heart rate. I think it was like 151 beats per minute for the first minute, for the first 4 minutes, then 161, and then 171. The 151 I had to perform 2 times. And I think it just kind of gets a baseline to make sure that you're able to stay within the threshold. And then the 161, I did just fine. When I got to about 171, I had to run a significantly harder effort than I was before. And after that was determined to be my threshold, my lactate threshold, it suggested that I perform a cool down. Well, I immediately went into a walk, and after walking for just a little while, I was able to determine that my breathing had returned to normal. My heart rate was back to a reasonable rate, and it was reasonable the whole time. What I mean is I wasn't working as hard, and I knew I was able to run again, so I started to run at a slow speed. And as I got to hills, I would slow down and power walk those hills again. And then at a certain point, I even just began to run the hills because I noticed I was getting closer and closer to a 5K distance. And so to clarify the run walk run way by Jeff Galloway, not only did I run and walk, but I also completed my fastest mile during that time frame. And I still was able to complete a 5K distance within a reasonable amount of time as far as my own general pace is concerned. So the run, walk, run effort is something that allows you to do more because you're able to recover during the period of time while you're running. Some people go out and run and run and run. And I say some people because I've done this myself, and run until they're done with their effort, and then basically they'll jump in the car and or take a shower and sit down. The warm up and cool down process is extremely important, and on top of that, the cool down process and moving around after you've run very hard allows all of the lactate, the buildup, to pass through your system a little bit more than it would if you just sat down and didn't cool down. So for me, after this effort, I don't anticipate being very sore for the rest of today. I don't anticipate being very sore tomorrow or even the day after. And I don't anticipate that because for longer efforts where I've continued to run in different varying tempos, including my threshold, even prior to knowing what that was, I have been able to continue to sustain my effort after hitting those thresholds for just long enough to walk off any of the buildup of lactate and to circulate through any of the toxins that would normally just sit there and build up and cause that muscle fatigue and soreness. So just a heads up, the run, walk, run method is extremely beneficial, and it's worth considering if you've put in an entirely difficult effort that you also choose to perform an additional cool off and help to reduce the ache and fatigue that your muscles might have expressed after the fact. So hope that makes sense. Hope you're having a great day. I know I am, and the day's just getting started. Like the cat up the road says usually, we ain't even had breakfast yet. So I guess that's what'll be next on the agenda after I knock out a few more things. Thanks again for tuning in and subscribing. Until next time, peace, love, and all that old school stuff.